Guys, we're back with another trip recap, this time a 4-day aboard the Legend.
Yeah, we had a private charter with some anglers that strictly wanted to target larger bluefin tuna. So that was our focus and goal throughout the trip, and it paid off successfully. As you can see, some big fish coming over the rail to start the video. You can see this big fish circling around at night here, as Rob does a good job controlling the fish and bringing it up to eventually get gaffed.
Yep, I mean, Rob is a textbook right here, making sure that he's lifting, making sure that he's pulling when necessary, and keeping the rod on the rail, really working together with the deckhands. And this fish is coming up super hot, too. He does a great job of, not easing up and just continuing to fight it and letting the deckhands do their job.
Yeah, you can see the color flashing in that fish. It still has plenty of energy. He hooked it on really heavy line on a stiff rod with a 2-speed reel, and he pulled it up pretty quickly. So when that happens, those fish are still very angry and ready to fight, even once they're gaffed, which can be a challenge for the deckhands. Even once they stick it, that fish is going to shake and throw them around as they try to lift it up over the rail.
So, for maybe some other charter masters that are out there that really want to do this big bluefin or bus type of trip, what's kind of the mindset that you need to have going into it?
It's one of those things where when you book your group or when you invite people to go fishing with you, when you charter out the whole boat, you have to let them know your expectations. This group, they wanted big fish, and if there weren't big fish around, they were okay with coming home with zero fish. Um, and that's kind of the mindset you have to have if you want to do big fish or bust. You have to be okay with that bust part. These guys were, and they worked really hard when there were opportunities to get the fish, and they sacrificed sleep at night, as you can see. They're up in the wee hours, fishing hard. Another beautiful fish coming over the rail. You can see that one's still hot too.
And I think this is his second or third fish already. This guy has been putting in the work, like you said, and it looks like, getting near the end. Matt's helping him out, just get it to the very last little bit, up to gaff.
Yeah, each night we had a little bit of opportunity on these big schools of big bluefin. They didn't bite great, but they were there each night, and we had at least one good shot where multiple fish were hanging at a time, and we had a lot of excitement each night.
Yeah, I mean, that head shake you can see in the shot, and that fish really fighting for its life, literally. As it comes up, and I feel like with these bigger fish too. Sometimes they can get a little bit tired out by the end, but I feel like a lot of times they're coming up pretty hot. They see the lights of the boat, they see the gaff coming near their face, and they have that little last push left in them.
Absolutely, and what contributed a lot to this and the success of these anglers was their tackle selection. Everybody came prepared with heavy line, good leadered up lures, big rail rods, and 2-speed reels. And if you guys would like to see some of our opinions on good starter stuff for rail rods, we do have our rail rod and corresponding reel video that you guys can check out. Um, you can see this guy, this is his third fish throughout the trip, and this one's just doing big circles off the stern. You can tell this is a different night because it's nice and calm and flat on this night. The previous fish, there was a little bit of swell, and he was using that swell to his advantage. When the boat would rock up, he would get ready to wind, and as it rocked down, he would wind and gain all that line. So he was using the motion of the ocean there to help him gain on that fish. Right here, you can see beautiful, calm weather, and that's why we have such a nice shot of that fish doing its big circles right here before gaff.
And like you said, with a little bit calmer weather, he's able to stand up and really get in a better position to, sort of angle that fish and bring it up and really lift the head of that fish up and out, getting ready for the gaff.
Yeah, this is the hard part of the fight because you're exhausted by the end. I think we had a chance to get that one, but he was a little tired and wasn't able to keep its head up there. It got its head back and took some more line again, and so extra fight, no charge on that fish.
Yeah, he definitely, he did a good job. I don't think the fish went too far, when it did swim away, and they were able to land it here. You can see it's kind of lighting Joey up a little bit with its head shakes and getting ready to pull it over with Keegan, and bam, look at that. It's a good
Yeah,
size.
what he did really well there when that fish did get its head back and took off for a little bit of run, he had no panic in him. Sometimes guys will freak out a little bit because they're so tired at this point. They got it to color, their shirt's about to be over, and when that fish goes to run, they'll like thumb the spool or hammer the drag down more. And we see a lot of fish break off that way because people panic at the end because they want that fight to be over so desperately. And if the fish is going to run, it's going to run. You can't just stop it just because you want to, as desperately as you'd like to. You can see two fish right here going at the same time. I believe this was on our last night, and these were a little bit larger fish, and they put up some good fights.
And so going back to tackle and being really prepared for these longer trips, having a different selection of jigs is something we've always talked about. But even more so, it's the rigged up jigs that are really, really important because the last thing you want to do is mid bite, or maybe one night to the next, right? Sometimes you're going to need a heavier jig to get down there, fight against the current. Sometimes you can get away with a lighter jig. And so really having all of those, crimped up, just complete tackle setup ready to go so you can switch in and out just straight to braid to the swivel is really, really crucial, especially in a hot bite.
Yeah, actually, this fish right here that we're gaffing, he has a long mono top shot. Most of the guys were fishing braid straight to their leader there that was swiveled up. He has some mono here for stretch. Some guys like that because the head shakes on these big fish can be pretty vicious, and that'll shake your arm pretty good. So if you have a bad shoulder or something like that, and you want a little bit of shock absorption, a little mono top shot in between your barrel swivel and your braid can help with that.
Now it looks like there's, pretty much all kinds of different colored jigs, kind of being brought over the rail. Was there anything that particular that was kind of hitting pretty hot?
I think the main success was seen by the heavier lures on this trip. And it wasn't even necessarily because of the conditions, but the fish were pretty deep. We were marking fish as deep as 500 feet on this trip. 3 to 400 was the average when we were getting on these schools. And so the 500-gram lures were getting down a little bit better, especially the lures that were designed to dive a little bit faster. Something like a mustad rip roller falls pretty quickly. So that was getting down into the zone to help guys get down to these big fish and have a chance to get bit.
You can see this guy here. He actually has different color braid on his reel. Now, we've talked a lot about the importance of marking your line, and that's another option is to get every 100 feet, or even 50 feet if you wanted to, a different color. I personally have fished both, and I think that the 100 feet is a lot easier to manage just because there's less to keep track of. Typically, right, you're only going down to maybe four, maybe 500, so that's only five colors to keep track of. And they do that in H&M's tackle shop as well. So that's my personal preference is doing every 100 feet a different color.
Yeah. This one right here was a heartbreak. Josh, you can see he's looking at me at the camera right now. He had touched the fish and grazed it, and it took off running there, and it ended up shaking the hook right after that. And that's just one of those things that's going to happen with these big fish sometimes. Is they're going to win the battle occasionally. That's why they're a trophy. That's why it's such an accomplishment when an angler is able to land one of these big fish. Is they do win sometimes. It's not a guarantee just because you hook a fish. Touching back on the marked line thing, every 100 feet, I like that as well. The main thing that I would suggest with braid at night, avoid the green or black braid. We haven't touched on that in a previous video. That dark black or dark green line at night can be a nightmare because it's so hard to see for your other anglers and even yourself. So you're going to end up tangling other fish or getting in a bad situation.
And we have the last fish here of our night bite portion. Just beautiful grade, just all like, I mean, they got what they asked for, right? Big bluefin or bust. I mean, it seems like they did pretty good.
Absolutely, nothing but quality. This was our first day bite here, and I believe all these were sinker rig fish. Our anglers were using 60 to 80 pound test with big circle hooks, and they were getting down to depth. And we hooked 3 fish in this first stop here. They were all going at once and working together over and under. I believe we landed 2 out of the 3, so it was a pretty good percentage of land on these big fish because they can be much more challenging during the daytime hours, in my opinion. It just feels like they have an extra fight. Maybe they're just more awake, something like that. But during daytime hours, they can be a real challenge. And when you catch a big fish in daytime hours, it's just it's a little bit more special because it's harder.
I think, it has to do with, during the daytime, you're just fishing lighter line, right? And you're wanting to kind of get that extra advantage to getting bit during the daytime versus at night, you throw down some heavy gear and, you have a good chance of getting bit regardless. So yeah, it makes it a little bit extra special. You kind of have to bring in that extra technique, and also patience and not pull too hard. And it looks like this angler was successful here with a nice sized tuna coming over the rail.
Yeah, I mean, the line size definitely plays a factor, but these fish that we hooked on these stops, like I said, 60 to 80 pound, two of them were on 80-pound test. And one of the fish took, I'm going to say, almost an hour, if not a full hour, uh, to get to the boat and land on 80-pound test. And that's just a testament to the willpower and strength of these tuna. That even though you can have it on such heavy line that's really, really tough to break and you can fish with heavy drag, that they're going to keep on fighting until the bitter end.
And so you mentioned, using sinker rig primarily, and now Rob is, the king, the master of sinker rig fishing. So walk us through a little bit of how he goes about it.
Yeah, so this is Lori right here fighting her fish, and I believe this was on 60-pound. I think she had like an 8 ounce torpedo sinker on, and the way they rig up their sinker rig, we've shown that in a past video. Actually, it's the technique where you're tying your top shot to a barrel swivel, your barrel swivel to your mono, or your barrel swivel to your fluoro, and then to the hook. And you're going to put your weight that's rubber banded right above the barrel swivel, and that just kind of increases the freedom for the bait fish as it goes down, so your line doesn't twist up as badly, and it presents a little bit better, in my opinion. And I've seen them have a ton of success on our boats over the years fishing that setup.
Beautiful water here as the fish kind of is coming to color, and she's putting in the last little bit of fight here. It's circling tight circles. This fish is hot, and gaffs are at the ready. You got three going right there.
Yeah, the crew was ready there and didn't want to take any chance. You can see all three gaffs get in there, and they're going to pass the gaffs around to each other so they're not twisted as they pull them up so the gaffs don't break, and up and over the rail. And this fishing during the daytime was a little bit tough for us. The fish are picky. They were real picky during the day for us, actually, at least the first couple days. And then they started to react to our bait a little bit. We saw them in the chum line start to come up and boil all over the place eventually, which kind of changed the way we were fishing. One guy got bit on 60-pound fly line. Chelo got bit on a backpacked flyer. So that's basically a flying fish, a frozen flying fish that he put out to float away from the boat, and he let it out during the slide. And when the fish came up on the chum line, they boiled up and inhaled it. And he was able to land one of those nice 100-plus-pound tuna.
Now, did you guys, as the crew, put out any flyers, like using the kite or anything?
Yeah, we had some opportunity to use the kite, and later in the trip when the fish started reacting and we're up at the surface, so we put the kite out with the California flyer. It got blown up on. It did not connect. Then we put it out with dead flyers that were blown up on. We had anglers using balloons to get flying fish away at times when the wind was a little bit down. You can see, like right now, we have zero wind at all. So we weren't able to get a kite away from the boat at times when fish were biting, which is a little bit of a pain because you have that opportunity to hook them on a 130-pound test or heavier, whatever your kite setup is. So it's always nice when you have the opportunity to do that when they're showing up at the surface and they're willing to bite the frozen flyer.
Yeah, seeing the kite get lit up is just so exciting. It's something fun to watch.
You can see this last fish right here getting gaffed, and it's going to get pulled up and over the rail. Just beautiful grade all around for this entire trip, and these anglers got what they wanted: big bluefin or bust.